My name is Terry Tonielli, and I'm happy to be here today to talk about my dad, Ernest Dominic Tonielli. He's the boxer that's depicted in the mural down the street. His name was Ernest Dominic, but nobody, and I mean nobody, ever called him by that name. His nickname was Laddie, and that's what everybody called him. He got the nickname from his mom, who used to call him Lily. Now somehow Lily got Americanized to Laddie, and that's how everybody knew him. He was born in Torino, Illinois, a tiny mining community that, according to a Will County engineer that I talked to, no longer exists. It was near the Braidwood area. He was born the 7th consecutive son to Carlo and Emma Tonielli, a mining family that moved frequently till they came to Marseille. Apparently they knew a good fit when they saw it. Dad was 1 year old when he came. His boxing career started when he and his older brother Johnny were watching an amateur fighter by the name of Bobby Wilcox. The story goes that Dad told Uncle Johnny, "Hell, that guy can't fight." At which point, Uncle Johnny, who was also an amateur fighter and who was recovering from a mining accident, gave Dad his equipment and told him to go for it. He was working at Nabisco at the time, but obviously was able to juggle with both kind of careers. As an aside, it was at Nabisco that he met the love of his life, Minnie Goda. She's somewhat of a celebrity because of her longevity. She could be the longest living Marseille's resident ever, as she will turn 106 in November. She may live in Quincy, but it took the 2013 flood to get her out of her beloved Marseille. My dad's amateur career started. He won his first 23 fights. He won the Illinois National Guard Championship. He was chosen to represent the United States in a U.S. versus Germany bout held at the Chicago Stadium. He won the Central AAU Championship and finished second 2 years in a row at the National Golden Gloves. To indicate what kind of a man he was, after a particular Golden Gloves medal match, he was awarded a decision. However, he insisted that the other guy get the medal because he thought the other guy had won the fight. After his last Golden Glove tournament, he decided it was time to turn professional. He was 20 years old. He fought 87 pro fights, winning 80. The first 29 with 14 knockouts. As for his professional career, some of the highlights were that he traveled coast to coast. He sparred with future heavyweight champion Joe Louis. He was in a movie called The Irish in Us, although you'll play hell trying to find him because he's in the background of a boxing scene in a gymnasium. The movie starred Jimmy Kennedy, who my dad said was just as nice as could be. He was very friendly, open, just very nice guy. He could not say the same thing about Clark Gable, who we met at another occasion. He fought before 7,500 people at the Chicago Stadium. He had one of his fights broadcast on WCFL, which is now ESPN AM 1000. He boxed before an overflow crowd at the Chicago Western Stadium. Fought a non-title fight with world champion Barney Ross. And he was inducted into the National Boxing Hall of Fame, which is in upstate New York. As I was going through all this material, I was continuously amazed. Here's an athlete that was not local level good, was not state level good. This guy was world class good. Excuse me. Yet this is also the man that taught me to drive, fix my flat tires on my bike, play catch with me all the time. I am grateful that he didn't try to teach me his jump shot because that was really ugly. Oh, nobody wanted to see that. There are also some great quotes that I found in a variety of different newspapers, and I'd like to share some of those with you. One says, "Tonielli soars as a rising star this season." That was in the Chicago Daily News. The Milwaukee Sentinel said the Chicago Italian was masterful. The Detroit Times said he was from Milwaukee, but at least they spelled his name right, so he had that going for him, which is good. Some other quotes. Marseille's gift to the pugilistic world. I kind of like that one. A brilliant Marseille scrapper. A spectacular welterweight from Marseilles, Illinois. There were also articles from the Pittsburgh Sun-Telegraph, Kansas City Journal-Post, the Los Angeles Evening Herald and Express, Indianapolis Times, the Ottawa Republican Daily Times, and there's even an article in an Italian newspaper. But there's one quote that I specifically and especially enjoy. It was in a January 27th Time Magazine interview in 1947. It was given by the name of Fritzy Zivik. And Zivik was bragging about his long boxing career and that he'd only been knocked out twice. One knockout, however, stood much more out than the other. He was quoted in the interview as saying, "They could have counted to 1,000 infractions and I would have never got up. I was a goner." Zivik said that the opponent who administered that knockout was Laddie Tonielli. Should be noted that shortly after my dad retired, Fritzy Zivik became world champ. Was Dad that close to being a world champ? Who knows? My mom always said it just was never meant to be. Some people are driven by money, fame, notoriety. Not my dad. He valued family, a roof, a bed, and a full belly. After the Ross fight, he decided to retire. His decision was based primarily on two factors. One, he wasn't making any money. He got $84 for fighting Barney Ross. He fought a guy by the name of Tracy Cox. He got $2.50. He said he also got a black eye, cut lip, and had to rub his ear all night so it wasn't cauliflower. We have to remember, this was mid-1930s. And the second reason was that shortly after my brother Bob was born, there was a murder in the alley behind their apartment. And he told Mom that he was not going to raise his family in that environment. So they moved back to good old Marseilles. He was hired back at Nabisco, where he worked until his retirement in 1977. He actually had a chance to return to boxing when, of all people, Joe Lewis's management team came to Marseilles, came to Nabisco, and tried to convince him to come back under their management. They told him that they did not think that he had been handled properly. He just simply said no. Speaking of a second chance, I'm glad that I have an opportunity to correct a word that I gave to an interview in the Daily Times several years ago about my dad. And I said that he would rather fight than eat. What I should have said was he would rather box than eat. Boxing is called the sweet science, and he loved it. He loved the movement, the balance, the details that are involved. You know, it's easier to punch up and more powerful to punch up than it is to punch down. Concentrate on your opponent's sternum. You can't get faked out if you're looking at your opponent's sternum. Remember that, Deacon, when you're playing basketball. And he especially loved the beauty of a properly thrown left hook. As I said previously, he really talked about his boxing career. But one day I got him talking, and I asked him, I said, was there ever a time when you were afraid? And he said, yeah, once. He was fighting, it was in Kansas City, and he was fighting a man from Kansas City. And the crowd behind his corner were making fun of his chicken legs. That's a physical trait, by the way, that he was able to pass on to both myself and my brother. Anyway, they were making clucking and chicken noises, and he looked across and he said, at his opponent, and he said, God, this guy looks like a Greek god. I mean, he's got muscles everywhere. He said, I'm going to suck soup for a week. Anyway, they go out, they get their instructions, they touch gloves, come back, the bell rings. And the first punch that my dad threw was a left hook, hit the guy right on the jaw, down. He's gone. He's out. My dad said he was so relieved he went back to his corner and yelled in the crowd, how do you like these chicken legs now? And he said it was really cool because they all stood up and gave him a standing ovation. That was really cool. In his retirement, he enjoyed His retirement, he enjoyed golf, bowling. He was involved with the local boxing scene, umpired baseball, actually even refereed some matches. I think that a local amateur boxer that he was involved with, by the name of Rocky Rates, summed it up the best. He said he was a great guy who loved boxing. Thank you.
Can you take questions?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. And granddaughter Amy, Katie, my grandson Deacon, and Miles. There you go. My son with the camera is Saul, and the one hiding in the corner is Rick.
Any boxers in the family?